Hi guys, good morning, and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Mandy, and you can find me on the internet as Mandy Von Knits on Instagram and Ravelry. I am a 40-year-old woman. I am a paraplegic, and I love to knit, and I love to craft. I love to crochet. I love to machine knit. I love all the fiber arts, and I love to come here every week to talk about it. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, please stick around. I would love to have you. I have quite a bit to talk about this week. I have found some patterns that I've really liked. I've been very excited because Advent season is coming up pretty soon. And whether or not you do Advents, it's always a fun time to get ideas for either scraps of yarn that you want to use or mini skeins, and there's just so many out there. So I'm going to talk about a couple that have kind of come into my radar recently. I thought that would be fun. I'm still working on my son's Christmas sweater. You will see quite a bit of progress this week because here in the States, it was Thanksgiving week. So we have Thanksgiving and then Black Friday. So most likely you know what Black Friday is because I have heard people from all over the world talk about it. It is just, one of those big shopping days, and we happen to get it off for work. So that is pretty exciting, which gave me more knitting time to, work on my son's sweater, and I have been at least pleasantly pleased with the progress, so I will be talking about that shortly. But first, let's kind of get down to business here. So, if you are new here, welcome. I give away a digital prize pattern every week. And the way that you enter is you just leave a comment down below, and then next week, come back and see if your name gets drawn. Now, I use a random comment picker, and I just put in the URL and press a button, and it gives me the winner. So I am going to leave a blank spot right here. And if that was you, please reach out to me on either Instagram or Ravelry as Mandy Von Knits and let me know what digital prize pattern that you want. If you don't use Ravelry, let me know that too, and we will figure out a different payment platform to get you your pattern on. Okay, there are only 2 rules to this giveaway. The first rule is that your pattern prize must be 15 USD or under. And the second rule is that you can only win once a month. I just put that in there. I threw that rule in there so that it's fair for everybody. And that's pretty much it. So if you are interested in winning for next week's giveaway, just leave a comment down below. And if I drew your name this week, just shoot me a message and let me know what pattern that you want. Okay, now with all of that out of the way, let's talk about machine knitting because I have been having some fun with machine knitting. I will talk about my sock machine kind of experiments. I'm not going to show you anything because just because I said I did sock machine knitting doesn't necessarily mean I was very productive with it. So I have a Dean & Beans sock machine, and at the time, I got this quite a bit ago, I ended up getting the kind of all in one package, I think. I can't remember what they called it. But the end of the story is that I ended up getting a ribber with it. And last Sunday, so basically last weekend, I was trying very desperately to kind of get this ribber set up and get it to start knitting. And I assembled the ribber, I got it installed, and I just couldn't get it. I cast on, and then the way that the ribber works is that I'm putting in needles one at a time, kind of picking up the yarn to rib with it, and my needles were not going in and out, and I'm absolutely certain that it had something to do with the tension, or one of the dials on it was just not configured the way it should. But at the time, I had spent quite a bit of time on this and I had such a headache. I'm like, okay, we're just gonna chalk this up as I got the ribber installed, I got all the parts assembled, and then we'll revisit this when I feel a little bit better. So that was my sock machine knitting this week. As for my Addie King knitting, I have an interesting story to tell. So I have an Addie King Express. It is a circular knitting machine. I think it has 48-ish needles, something like that. And it works with worsted, lighter worsted. I love using DK on it because I think it makes like stretchier hats. So just keep that in mind. But last weekend, I was super happy because I have one of the small Centros and it's got like what, 22 stitches, 22 needles in it. And my daughter comes out of nowhere and wants to use this knitting machine. So I'm like, okay, that sounds fun. So I got her set up and she actually made several tubes for her stuffed animals. And she has like these stuffed llamas and she put them on her llamas and they were like the cutest little sweaters and she was so proud of herself. So she goes to me, I want to put a knitting machine on my Christmas list. And you know, that made me so happy because my daughter is 10 years old and she has shown some interest in jewelry design, but she has never really showed much interest in learning any fiber arts. And when she said that, my heart was just like, ah! So, anyways, this week with my Addie King Express, I worked with some ice cream yarn. And this is what I'm talking about when I say that the DK stretches a little bit more. I'm almost positive that this is DK weight yarn because whenever I went and grabbed some of the hat yarn, because generally I grab it in all at once in kind of an order to Hirschner's, and I tended to get DK weight yarn at least for my last order, and that's where this came from. So I love the way that it stretches. And this is one of the smaller ones that I made. With the ice cream yarn, I was able to get 2 hats per skein. And whenever I grabbed them to show, I ended up with the smaller hat for this colorway. And I did like the colors on this. I think I would have liked it a little bit more if it didn't have the orange, because for some reason the orange reminds me of like candy cane. No, not a candy cane, a candy corn. So, but I really love the yellows and the gray. So that's one colorway. And then the second colorway, I have 3 different colorways for this. So I really do like this blue. And it's like a blue and green. You know, it's interesting. When you take a look at the yarn and the colorways and you're looking at them all knit up like this, you can very easily see that these ice cream yarns have like a thicker stripe and then some smaller stripes on the outside and then a thicker stripe because it does it again right here. You can see the exact same pattern. So I think it's very cool to look at different yarns and how they knit up in this knitting machine. And it just so happens that I get to donate the hats when I'm done. So that makes me happy too. The last hat colorway that I made was this one. And I actually made this one quite long because I really liked the way that the band looked on this. So we have this colorway this one's actually a little bit different. This has stripes, like very thick stripes all the way through. So I like that too. But this would also look really cute in like a muscle burrow, I think. If you are unfamiliar with the muscle burrow, it is a pattern by Isolde Teague, and it's basically knitting a hat, pretty close to this, except you hand knit and you actually work the decreases. For the knitting machine hats, it's kind of basically just pulling it tight. You can decrease, and I have decreased many times on a knitting machine, but with those hats, especially because they're so stretchy, I don't really find a reason to. But you could, there's always that. Okay, that is it for my knitting machine talk. But like I said, guys, I'm super excited. My daughter asked for like a little knitting machine, and then I started thinking, well, one of my friends mentioned, do you think she'd like a knitting loom? Like one of those round looms? And my mind just went, she's over here and I'm like up here in space thinking of all of the fiber art, crafty stuff we're gonna do together. So we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so I have worked on 2 projects this week, and I'm sorry guys, we're going to be working on these 2 projects at least until my son's Christmas sweater is done. It is, like I said, we just got done with Black Friday and Thanksgiving here in the States, so we're like this close to Christmas. By the way, my son has not given me a single thing he wants for Christmas. I told him that if he doesn't come up with something for me to buy him for Christmas, he's getting yarn. So we'll see what happens there. Okay, this is going to be my first project I'm going to show you, and I have been working on this today, and you know what? I love this project. I love how relaxing it is, and I love that it is crochet and it's very easy, and I'm trying to untangle it here while I talk, but this is what I've got so far, and I'm holding it upside down, but you can see how it's growing. And this is just the simplest ripple blanket pattern stitch that you can probably find, because I was having very big difficulties doing a ripple stitch correctly. Now, I really love how this comes out, but if you look, now don't look too hard, okay? Because if you point out how you can see all the ripples going awry down below in the comments, I will cry, so don't do that. But if you were here and you looked really closely, you can see where like I got distracted and maybe some of the ripples are off kind of, but if you look at it as a whole, I don't think it looks bad. I don't think anybody's really going to be noticing it unless they're inspecting the blanket on a bed. So I'm willing to just be like, it is what it is. It's a very long blanket, and I'm almost positive that I've decided I am going to be working it vertically, so it will lay on the bed like this just because of how long it is. But we'll see. We'll see. I am using Sidar Jewel Spun Ombre, and if you have never seen this yarn or heard of it, you are in for a treat if you do get it. The balls are huge, like 1,000 meters, 1,000 yards, and they're just unwieldy almost. Now, major props to them for being able to put this yarn, especially because it's very grabby yarn. They put this yarn into these balls and then they package and sell them that way. And I love the yarn. It's super soft. It makes a great blanket. And the only thing I can say very certainly is that if you do get this yarn, I would take it and probably wind it into like separate balls. Just because it has a lot of tendency to kind of not, as if you keep it in the put up that it's in, it will start coming undone. So I did not know that before I started the last time. before I started with this blanket. So right now in my knitting bag, I have some 2 Sidear Jewel Spun Ombre balls because I'm using 2 different colorways for this. And the yarn is kind of coming off of it. So that is why I haven't lifted them up to show you. It's because I feel like if I do lift the balls up to show you, they're all gonna fall apart. So I would just keep that in mind. I love these colors. That has been my crochet project that I've been working on for the last little bit now, and it's gonna take me a while to do, but I am having fun doing it, and it's something that I can just mindlessly work on. And like I said, even if your stitch count is off a little bit, it doesn't affect it as much as you think it would. I definitely would not rip out some of the rows where like maybe my ripple wave is like over here for one and like the center is over here. I mean, it's a blanket. In the end, you just use it to keep warm. My son's not gonna care. He was more excited about the different colors, and that's probably all that he'll notice when I end up giving him that blanket. Sorry guys, I had to call my daughter in here because of course my wheelchair is in like out of accessibility reach, and my sweater, because I was knitting it on the bed, is on the bed. So I couldn't get my sweater. I had to have my daughter get it. The life of a wheelchair user, especially whenever the wheelchair was pushed out of the way because my husband was trying to make room for a chair to put all my yarny stuff on it. So anyways, okay guys, I have been working so hard on this one. And if you aren't familiar with the pattern, let's talk about the pattern for a little bit. Now, the pattern is Strange Brew, and it's by Tin Can Knits. If you guys have not done any Tin Can Knits patterns, I definitely recommend that you go check them out, especially if you are somebody who's a new knitter or somebody who is trying to learn knitting. They have awesome patterns, and they have a pattern collection. What is it called? The Simple Collection, possibly? And they've got a sweater, hat, a shawl, socks, all these things. And all these patterns teach you different techniques, and it's just really good. Now, this particular pattern that I'm talking about is called Strange Brew. And I would go ahead and call it more of a recipe than a pattern. It is, basically think of it like a drawing board. So they give you a blank circular yoke pattern recipe, and every number, every size, and they have a million sizes. I'm not even sure what sizes are in Strange Brew, but if I had to wager a guess, it's probably like from newborn to 5XL, because Tin Can Knits has a huge range of sizes. So all of the numbers for all of the patterns are directly, they're multiples of the stitch charts that they give you in this pattern. So you can take whatever stitch chart you want and plug and play it into this pattern. And it's really neat and cool. I have been having a blast with it. Now, I have taken charts from other places as well. For my daughters, for instance, I took a heart chart from Chaos Christmas Socks, I believe it was called. And for this sweater, this video game sweater that I've been working on for my son, I took some charts from the 8-bit sweater and then the 8-bit doodle beanie. So I've put in some charts for that here. And I've just had so much fun working and not designing, right? Because I'm not technically designing anything. I'm more orchestrating where these charts are going and picking out which ones I want. So I've had a ton of fun doing it. It's just so great. Now, this is a men's medium for my son, and he wears, I would say, a men's small. So it's going to be big on him, and that's by design. Now, if you watched last week, I was just finishing up, it's getting so long I can't even hold it. I was just finishing up, what was I just finishing up? Oh, right here. This band right here, right after the mushroom. So this is really hard to show on camera, but if you look at it, I have some icons from Zelda in here. I've got a master key and a bomb and a potion. And then if you go a little bit farther, I've got a crest. And you can see the Triforce right in there. So if you are a fan of Zelda, you know exactly what this is. And if not, don't worry about it. It is just a geeky little thing that I love. So I got these charts right here from the Socks of a Hero. And I went through their charts, and I was trying to plug and play what charts I thought would fit well for this sweater. And I ended up coming up with those 4. So I wanted something that would go with the Triforce. Now, I tried this on my son, and it goes down to, I would say, his belly button right now. I'm thinking I'm going to need about 1 more color. So about another this right here. That's a very technical term, isn't it? Another, basically 4 motifs. So there's the border, and then the potions, and then the border, and the crest. So 4 motif repeats. I'm not sure what motifs I'm going to pick yet, and I've been working on it with my son, and I want to see if he's interested in doing Mega Man, because I think the 8-bit sweater has a Mega Man chart. I'm just not sure what would go well with it. So that's my only hold back so far. Because every other chart is, basically the charts are coming in too. So we've got Pac-Man up here, which is Pac-Man and the ghost, and then Mario, the star and the mushroom, and then Zelda is the potion and the crest. But Mega Man, I'm not sure what would go with that. So I don't know if I want to really break what I'm doing or if it even matters. Maybe I'll do Mario Kart. He loves playing Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers, so we'll just see. Now, I have started the sleeve, you can see, and this is how much of this color I'm going to be putting on the sleeve. Now, I started this first sleeve with 17.5 grams. And then I've got the border, the potions. I'm going to put the border here and then stop and then go to the other side and do those 3 motifs. I'm almost positive I'm not going to have enough of the color left to do the entire crest chart, which is fine. If you take a look, I'm actually making the sleeves fade faster than the rest of change colors faster than the body of the pattern. And I did that on my daughters too. If you take a look right here, this border, yeah, I guess that's what I'm gonna call it. This border is in this reddish pink color, and on the main body, it's still in this chrome. Or is that what I wanna call it? No, copper. So I'm just going to keep doing that and fade the colors out a little bit faster on the sleeve. I very much do that whenever I do sweaters. I even have some, I believe I've done that on my painting brick sweater and just other ones. I'll always fade the sleeves faster. It's a quirk I have. I really like how it comes out that way. But I'm excited about this. Hopefully I'll be able to make some more progress on the charts this weekend. There's not a lot going on this weekend, so that is good. Just some editing of the podcast. And, ooh, I like it. Just some editing of the podcast and not watching football because football happened on Thursday. So hopefully there's some hockey on or something. I don't know. One thing that I did do for this, and I tend to do this with my kids' sweaters, and I tend to do this with my sweaters too, but the reason I do it with my kids' sweaters is because when they were little, I would cast on for, say, a flax, and I would work the ribbing, and then I would work the raglan increases, finish the sweater, and then after they started wearing it, I would notice that the necklines would kind of get a little bit boat neck here. So from basically the time they were about 6, 7-ish, I try to cast on right into the sweater. And as soon as the sweater is done, I am going to be picking this up and working as much of the ribbing as I think it needs. For my son, it's probably going to be about 2 inches, or maybe even 2.5. We'll have to see how big he wants the neck to be. But I mean, right now it's boat necky, but this is obviously not how it's going to be whenever it's done. I am loving Colorwork. I feel like I've learned so much about Colorwork this last year. I worked on so many different projects, and I also tackled brioche too. So I made 3 Keltopusses, and by the time I was done working on those, I was so able to fix brioche. I was so super proud of myself. So I'm really happy with how much I feel like I've grown this year with my knitting. Are you guys like that? Have you kind of set out some goals and been able to work on them this year? Let me know down below what you've been working on, or if you're planning on any goals for next year. Like, what are they? I'm not sure what I want to do. I kind of want to do more color work. I love the way that the projects turn out, and I love how you can customize it and just make it work for you. You could do whatever you want. I mean, it's just very cool. I do know that I want to work on intarsia. And obviously it's because of the sweater I want to make my husband, the meme sweater. But I feel like I can't remember much, especially with knitting, any intarsia that I've done with knitting. I know I've worked with bobbins before for crochet, but for knitting it's different. So we're gonna see how that goes. Okay, I've actually went through and I found some patterns that I wanted to talk about. Now, we're headed right for December. And if you're in the knitting community or the crochet community or the yarn community, you guys know when like the countdown calendars kind of show up, and this would be the month for them, where everybody's opening the calendars and they're showing their yarn and they're trying to decide what yarny project would be good to work on for one of these. And I've just found a couple, and I found some unconventional ones as well, because I very much appreciate using patterns that aren't meant for Advents. Now, for my Advent this year, I want to use the Stripes Gone Crazy pattern. So be prepared to see that. I'm pretty sure I'm going to wait until January to start it, just because I don't like accidentally ruining Christmas countdown for somebody and then having to worry about that, or just knit something too fast and people get spoiled. So I will wait until January not to open mine, but to start working on my project. And like I said, Stripes Gone Crazy, that is my plan. We're gonna see how it goes. I think that that pattern is so cool, and I think that it would be so cool in an advent. I don't know what main color I'll use, and I probably won't until I open the advent, so we'll see. Okay, anyways, here's the patterns that I want to talk about. Now, I ran across this one in my suggested finds on Ravelry. This is called the How Bizarre Pillow. Now, let me see if that's going to show up. This very much looks super cool. This is crochet. And I think the coolest part about this is that it looks like entrelac, and it uses a Tunisian crochet stitch, but they say you don't even need a Tunisian crochet needle. It says the longest entrelac rows with 11 triangles take 11 grams. So that's important as well. It says that there are 2 balls needed for the double border, but ignore all of that, right? Because I'm not gonna talk about the pillow. I like the technique. I think that this technique would be cool for pretty much, you could do a ton of different things with this, but the thing that I'm thinking about is a blanket, even like a bag. I would love a bag like that. And there's so many different ways to use different color combinations with this. And that's why I thought that it would be really cool for an advent. So it uses fingering weight yarn, which works out great. A lot of the countdown calendars are fingering weight. It says it includes a video tutorial, chart, and written instructions, which is awesome. Now, let's see what else I have here. Okay, this is actually nothing to do with advents, and I wanted to talk about it because I thought it was really cool. The thing that drew me to this pattern is that if you go look at the Ravelry pattern page, the designer is standing on a beach and they're like this, and you can see how this pattern cocoons. Now, that in itself is, I mean, we see that a lot, but this is not all over Colorwork, but it's very close. This is called Denny's Martin, and it's by Kate Davies Designs. And it uses a DK and a DK held together, which means that you're going to get a very squishy cardigan. And I love that. It looks so comfy. So they consider a DK and a DK a bulky. And your gauge is going to be 14 stitches and 18 rows is 4 inches and stranded colorwork in the round. Now, I think that the colorwork on this cardigan is so pretty, and you could do it in so many different colors, and I feel like my favorite combinations for this sweater would be the ones that have the high contrast. So, take that as you will. Some people don't like high contrast. Me, I'm all about like red and white. Some people don't like that. I mean, it's all, the thing that I love about knitting, crafting, crocheting, making things in general is that you can make it to suit you. Just because the designer uses 40 different colors doesn't mean you have to. And I really love that. It gives you the opportunity to do exactly what you want and make the pattern or what you're creating to make it suit you. And it's incredible that we are able to do this. I really love it. Okay, it says this two-tone colorwork design is named for Denys Martin, who served in the Arctic convoys crossing from Scotland around Norway and the Barents Sea to bring vital supplies to wartime Russia. Martin lost his life in the sinking of the HMS Maratha on February 25th, 1944. So, that is who the pattern is named after, and I think that's a really cool tidbit. If you're looking for a bulky weight cardigan, I've noticed that my favorite cardigan is DK weight. So keep that in mind as a person who knits a whole bunch of fingering. The cardigan that I wear the most, DK weight. I really need to get it together and pull out some of my Barocco vintage DK, because I have some to make another Always There. It's right up there. That cardigan is the cardigan I wear constantly, and I need one in like 100 different colors, because if I'm going to the doctor's or if I'm going to the store, that's the one I'm grabbing for. It is what it is. Okay, I thought this design was super cute, and I ran across this design, and first of all, I want to say, if you reached out to me and told me about the cat cowl that was free on Ravelry, thank you so much. I missed it, and I must have missed it by like this much, because I had messages from it, but I had gotten them at work, and then I forgot about it, and then I got another message, and I went to it, and I looked at the pattern page, and I had just missed it. It said all copies claimed. But I went and I started looking at cat designs, and I ran across this one, and I thought that this was really cute. Now, you guys know me, I'm not a sock knitter. If you're a sock knitter, that's awesome. It's just I haven't gotten into them yet. So whenever I see a sock pattern, I'm always thinking about, well, what could I do to this to utilize the chart that's in it? You notice that with my Zelda sweater that I am stealing, I don't want to say stealing, I'm borrowing the chart from the sock pattern that I bought. I bought the pattern to basically take the Colorwork sock chart and put it on sleeves. So whenever I saw that, or whenever I saw this pattern, I started thinking, what can I put this on? Because this chart is adorable. This is called the PumCat socks. So let's take a look at this. This is a black cat sitting on a pumpkin. Now, we have two black cats at the house. We have a 20-year-old black cat, and we have a 5-year-old black cat that we got during COVID. And so obviously we are huge black cat fans, and my daughter is also a very big black cat fan. So what I want to do for next Halloween, and probably most likely before then, because these are cute, I think I want to make maybe like an ear warmer with this chart on it. Either an ear warmer or a hat. Maybe both, because I saw this chart and I thought it was super cute. And since I don't wear hand knit socks because paraplegia means that I have limited feeling, so I'm really nervous about what I put on my feet, that I figured I could buy this pattern and then utilize the chart that way. So it says, these socks are knit from cuff down. It begins with a tubular cast on and a ribbed cuff. The leg and part of the foot are knitted with a colorwork pattern. These socks are knit with a short row heel and finished with a Kitchener stitch. So, you know what? I wonder if my daughter would wear socks like this. I'm sure she would. I think they're cute. And, you know, I am a huge cat fan, like you guys know. So if I were to make this ear warmer or hat, just because the cat's sitting on a pumpkin doesn't mean it's for Halloween. I would wear that, you know, right now. So take that as you will. I really like this pattern. Now, this is called Drops of Jupiter, and this is by Mary Annarella. So I have done a couple of her patterns. She has a very pretty hat pattern, and it's got like flowers on it, and I did it last year. But I ran across this one, and first of all, I love the neck on this pattern, and you'll see in a second whenever I show you. But the reason I started thinking about this is I thought this would be a really cool, unexpected pattern to do an advent in. So this is called Drops of Jupiter, and let's take a look right there, because I could definitely see doing one of every stripe in an advent, and I think that that would be really cool. And since it has a main color, as long as your main color was neutral, I think that it could work to tame an advent down. Now, let's look at the other ones, because I think that this pattern is super cool. The thing that I like most though, where is it? It's the neck. I love that neck design. What is it called, guys? Yeah, it's a boat neck. That's what I wanted to say, but I wasn't sure. But the tag says boat neck, so that's what I thought. That's what I thought, and it looks like that's what it is. So it's in fingering weight yarn, which works out really well for advents, and it comes in sizes 32 inches to 65 and a fourth inches. That is 81.3 to 166.1 centimeters. And the gauge is 23 stitches and 40 rows, equal 4 inches in a dip stitch pattern. And like it says on the description, it's perfect for stash busting, or it's perfect for mini skeins. So I think that it would be really cool to do this in like a rainbow color or bright neons. I have a set of bright neons, and I think that would be really cool to do that sweater in black and then make the stripes like a neon, graduated going down. So if I had like 4 neon colors, I would do 4 stripes one color and then 4 stripes another color, something like that, to where it would gradually fade down. I love neons and blacks though, so like I said, high contrast. I really like this pattern, and I came across this. First of all, this is a free pattern, which I love to share free patterns because not everybody can go out and buy patterns. This is a Yarnspiration Design Studio pattern, and this is called a Granny Goes Random Blanket. Now, I had mentioned that I am going to be making my daughter a crochet blanket, and I think that this one would be super fun to do. This has a whole bunch of different colors, and the granny squares are put together. So it says it uses air and weight yarn, but I mean, it's a blanket and you're putting squares together. So in the end, the gauge for the specific square doesn't technically matter. If you use a lighter weight, you're going to have to make more squares. But that's what it is. So it says, blend modern style with tradition to create this lively crochet blanket. Using 2 mixes of Red Heart Biddy stripes, you'll create simple granny squares with gorgeous color. Practice working motifs in the round, plus partial motifs in rows for half and quarter shapes. Alternate 2 rounds from one ball with 2 from the other to reveal a fun random color mix. Simply join your squares in a diamond tile pattern to complete this dynamic throw. So you can use advents, you can use the Red Heart Biddy stripes like they suggest in the pattern, and you can have fun and do this and pretty much whichever way you feel fit to do. I love it, and I love patterns like that. I think that my daughter would have a lot of fun, especially if I used a main neutral color, maybe to border them, to tie something all together. Now, I ran across this one, and I wanted to show you an example of this idea in crochet as well. So let's start with knitting. This is called the Gentle Hat, and this is by Mary Ann Stevens. And let me show you. This uses a bunch of different colors, and it also holds a mohair together. Now, if you take a look, and I know it's not coming up very well because it's in black and white, but hopefully I have put up the pattern picture I'm talking about. And if you take a look at it, it has a version where it doesn't use mohair, or you don't have to use mohair. So keep that in mind if mohair is something you don't want to use because you don't like it or whatever. But it says it uses sport weight yarn. The gauge is 8 stitches equal 4 inches in stranded stockinette stitch. 4 stitches. Or 8 stitches equal 4 inches. They have to mean something specific to equal a stitch. It says, the Gentle Hat uses 7 different shades of alpaca. If you get a second ball of just the off-white for a total of 8 balls, you'll be able to make 3 identical Gentle Hats. If you're using a substitute yarn, doubling the amount of the background color will do the same trick. So, if you took a mohair and started working your advent colors with it, this could be a cool way to use up some leftovers. And that's pretty much what I had thought about. The reason that I like this is because not many people use hats for an advent project. And I feel like not everybody wants to make a huge project, or maybe we end up having extra miscellaneous bits and we don't know what to do with them. So if you take them and add like an off-white or a white mohair with it, and you're knitting, and even if you just knit stripes, it's going to tame the color down. And I really like that. So I thought that it was a cool idea, and I wanted to mention it. This hat also has corrugated ribbing, and I like the way that looks. Now, on the flip side, this one is also by Yarnspiration Design Studio. So this one and the crochet blanket from Yarnspiration. So this is called the Colorwork hat. And this is a crochet version of basically a Colorwork hat. And all I'm thinking is you could take the same principle from the Gentle Hat if you don't know how to knit and add it to this Colorwork hat. You could take your leftovers from your advent calendar and go ahead and crochet a couple of these hats and add some mohair. Don't add mohair. Or you could add, it doesn't have to be mohair. You could just take a neutral and add it. I mean, have fun with it. You will never know unless you try. It says, add a pop of color to your wardrobe with this crochet hat that's designed for colder days. Stitched in the perfectly curated shades of Karen Big Donut Ogo, pattern is worked up in a selection of techniques to keep you engaged, including split single crochet, chain stitch, half double crochet front post, half double crochet back post, split single crochet 2 together in fair isle, customize it in any shade for the perfect gift. So I think that that's very cool. The yarn weight that you end up using is Aran, but it's just another suggestion to use up some scraps that you might have this time of year. And I think that's it, guys. I was having a lot of fun looking at Ravelry the last couple of days, just kind of getting ideas and seeing what projects are coming out and what new ideas people have or old ideas people have that are coming back and people are loving to make them. I've seen the sailor slippers that people have been loving on Ravelry, and I think that those are super cute. I really, really think that my daughter would love a pair. And whenever I see those, I want to take them and make like little itty bitty slippers for her. And then I want to felt on some cat ears and, a little pink nose. Yeah, a pink nose. Maybe. It depends. It depends on the cat. Not all cats have pink noses, but you could make some little whiskers with embroidery thread and just have a lot of fun with it. So that's kind of one idea that's been floating around in my head. But I have been buckling down on my son's Christmas sweater, and I'm very much trying to get that done. So it is what it is. It's almost there. We'll see. Okay, guys, that is all of the knitting and crochet that I have to talk about today. That's it. So if you're leaving right now, I just want to say thank you so much for stopping by. If you could, please give this video a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And tell a friend if you could. I love meeting new people, and I feel like YouTube has given me the opportunity to talk to and just converse with people from all over the world. It makes me super happy to read all of the comments that you guys leave. Oh, and don't forget, if you want to be entered for next week's giveaway, just leave a comment down below. If you are sticking around to talk about life stuff, we can talk about it for just a couple of minutes. I have been having mild success with the lidocaine infusions. It seems like the lidocaine oral pill that they gave me wears off at about 6 p.m. depending on when I take it. So I can very much tell after that. But other than that, I've been really pleasantly happy with it. The only time I've had bad pain days is when it's rained or snowed. And those are typically my very high pain days. I don't know what it is, but whenever the weather's cruddy, it all seems to pile on. Okay, I have been reading a great book, and I've been listening to it most of the day today because, like I said, I had the day off, and while my daughter's bopping around playing video games, I am listening to this book. And this is called The Last One Left by Riley Sager. And if that's wrong, I'm going to put it down below. But this book has been such a good one, and I've been very excited to read it. So it is about this. How am I going to explain this? I don't want to ruin anything. It is about this old lady who was accused of killing her family in 1929. And the book takes place in the 80s. So keep that in mind. And she got accused of killing her family, her sister and her mother and her father, when the stock market crashed. So everybody thought that she did it, but they couldn't prove anything. Now, flash forward to the 80s where we have this a registered caretaker. I'm not sure exactly what the technical term is, but they called her a caretaker in the book. So they have this caretaker, and she was just recently suspended, and I'm not going to get into why, but she was recently suspended from her job, and she just came back, and her first assignment is to go take care of this lady who was accused of killing her family. And it is such a good book. I don't want to give you guys any more than that, because it will be spoilers and I don't want to do that. But if you are interested in like mystery and psychological and things like that, it's a fun book to read. It's definitely kept me engaged, and that's a lot more than I can say about the books that I've been reading lately. So that's it for the books. Other than that, I have been watching The Simpsons. So The Simpsons have been on for I don't know how many years. Probably 1989. I'm sure it's been a long, long time. But every so often, I will get into watching TV funk where I will sit and just watch The Simpsons. And I do that because there are just so many episodes of them, and it seems like I'm never going to run out of them. And I think last year, I worked through Bob's Burgers, and I ran out of those. So I am fully caught up on that. And now I am just still working through The Simpsons. And I will tell you that when I was in the hospital, one of the times I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, I believe, I worked through like 20 seasons of The Simpsons. That was no joke. So I don't recommend doing that unless you're stuck in the hospital like I was, and Disney Plus was basically the only interesting thing that you could do. So other than that, there hasn't been much TV or TV watching going on. I tend to listen more to books than I do to watch TV, although my cats love cat TV. They actually, if we turn on the TV, they will jump up and sit and just watch the TV because they're very captivated in it. With it, if you do not know what cat TV is, you can go to YouTube and you can search for cat TV, and it will basically list a bunch of videos where birds are like nature, and there's birds and chipmunks, and we'll turn it on for our cats. Like for maybe 10 minutes. I mean, they don't sit there forever. Just 10 minutes. They're very interested in it and it makes them happy. And then they're done with it. So maybe if you've never heard of that and you have cats, that might be something that's useful to you. Okay, guys, I'm done talking. That's it. I hope that if you are in the US, you have had a great Thanksgiving. If you are not in the US, I hope that you have had a great week, and I will see you guys next week. Next week. If you want to enter for next week's giveaway, please leave a comment down below. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Bye.